So in this video, we're going to look at the different scenarios for posting cash up on Relay. So you can see here, for example, we have a client file, John Accounts, and we have a private motor policy that's currently a status is temporary, which means it's a quote. So again, just assuming we're using manual accounts here at the moment, and there's no auto premium posting turned on. So I'm just going to post up a premium. So I'll say the insurer premium is $350, and I'll say the broker fee is $50. So what this will do is it'll change the status from temporary to new business, and it'll raise a debit up there of 400. So what we're going to do now is just look at the different scenarios that you might come across when you're trying to post monies up in the system. So there's a debit there of 400. So if I right click and select post cash, this opens the cash posting screen. Okay, so if you just bring your attention to the top here, this top bar, again, total due tells you how much is currently outstanding. And again, similar to the client portfolio, it'll tell you how much is outstanding in the current month. And then if there's age debt, you'll see it here in the relevant columns. So total due is 400. Now that is obviously very important, because if there's no monies posted up in the system, you're not going to be able to receive cash. So if you ever come in here and you're trying to receive money and there's no line, or there's no money outstanding, then you might have skipped the process of actually posting the premium first. So you need to post the premium first, then you post your cash. So in this example here, I'm just going to keep it nice and simple. I'm going to say that we've received a check in for 400 euros from John. So how do we receive that money? So down the bottom here is basically how we receive, where we receipt. So the amount, you put in the actual amount they've given you. So it's always the figure they've actually paid you that goes in here. Now if it's less or more, that's fine, but it always goes in the exact figure they've given you. The write-off, so if you're writing off money, you can do it here, which we'll come back to. Payment method. Now in here you have all your different payment methods, and again, if you scroll down the bottom, you'll also see bank transfer. So some clients miss that because it's down the bottom. But you have cash, check, card, online card. So again, if you are using the online card system in Relay to take money, so if you have it integrated with Relex or WorldNet or AutoPay, you can actually take the monies through the credit card or debit card after you've received the money, which I'll demonstrate a little bit later. Direct debit, finance, deposit only, etc. So again, just for this first example, I'm just going to keep it simple. We've received the check in. This is the date of we received the money, and the reference, you could leave it in your own name, or you could actually put in the check ref. So I do recommend that. So check ref. So just put in the check ref 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why would you do that? Well, basically what happens is when you print off a cash receipt or generate a cash receipt, you'll actually see that reference on the right hand side column. So you'll be able to reconcile, and the money's a bit easier. So we select the policy we want to allocate the money against, and then because they match exactly, we can either double click on the line, or you can click allocate, or you can click automatic, and they all basically do the same thing. So they'll basically allocate this credit to that debit, and it gives you a C status. Status C means it's cleared. Okay, so it's not cash or check or credit card, it just means it's cleared off. And then down the bottom here, you can see that the amount remaining is 0. So that means it's cleared. So to proceed, you would just press OK, and that would complete that particular transaction. Now, what happens if John actually underpaid you? So they send in a check for actually, say, $395 instead of 400. So what do you do there? Well, again, go into right click and select post cash. You can see that the debit is actually 400 and they're only paying you $395. Well, again, $395 is always the amount that goes in here. So it's whatever they actually are paying you. So in terms of dealing with this scenario, there's 3 different things you could do. The first thing you could do is you could actually decide, well, right, we're not going to chase him up for the €5. We're just going to forget about it. So the first thing I could actually do is I could go back to the accounts tab, and the 400 euros here that I posted, I could right click and post it an error. So what I mean is we can take it down and then repost it with maybe €5 less fee. So I wouldn't be reducing the premium, I'd be reducing the fee. So instead of posting a €50 fee, I'd post a 45, and that would give us the 395 that we're looking for. So step number one, if you wanted, you could take down the premium and repost it so that it's 395 and not 400. Alternatively, you could decide to use the write-off column. So the write-off column is here. So you could put in your €5, and now you could proceed because the total in the credit field is now 400 and the total due is 400, so it'll clear off against each other. Now if you proceed in that way, obviously you're writing off €5 off your fees, and you'll also see it on a period control report if you do have one at the end of your month end. I suppose either way it doesn't really matter. You're going to be writing off €5 off your fee either way, but again, it's up to yourself, your brokerage, which way you want to go. So either post-fix the original premium or just use the write-off column here. The write-off column would normally only be used for very nominal amounts. So for €5, that might be too much. Assuming we're happy enough to use the write-off in this example, we're good to go. Just click allocate. It'll allocate the monies, and OK to conclude. So the next scenario we're going to look at is if they've actually overpaid. Okay, so they sent in a check for too much. So let's do that then. So post cash, and again there's a debit of 400. So say he sends us in a check of 405. So what do we do? So we'll again just select how they're paying you. Select the policy line and select allocate. And what that'll do is it'll take 400 of the money they've given you and they've allocated against that line. So it clears it off. That's why you get the C. But you can see here at the moment the OK button is grayed out. It's grayed out because there's still €5 that we have to deal with. So the system is stopping you from proceeding any further. There's only two ways to actually get out of here. Is to press cancel altogether and go back to the customer and deal with the monies, in terms of, do you want to send back the check and send you a new one? Or you can just use the unallocated button. So the unallocated button would actually put the customer in credit for €5. And what happens is then the accounts team can post a journal refund for the €5 and that will clear it off. So to clarify, we put in the overpayment amount, we clicked allocate, which clears it, and then to finish, click unallocated, and it'll put the €5 in credit on their account. And again, accounts team can refund them. So that's basically how you would deal with an overpayment. Let's look at now where in a scenario where they actually just want to pay half the monies or partially pay you. Okay, so they send you in a check for maybe €200. So what do you do? So post cash, and again the scenario is they're only partially paying you. So put in the amount, select the amount itself, select the line. Now again, in this case, there's no point in clicking allocate or double click. It's not going to work because the system is looking for €400. So for for partial payments, click remainder. So remainder is what you use for partial payments, remainder. So you can see here, there was 400 debit outstanding. We've allocated 200 to it, and we've got a P for partial. And then the amount outstanding is €200. So once you press OK, that will allocate the 200 to it, but it'll also leave a debit of 200 on the file. So in this next scenario, I'm going to look at a situation where the customer actually has two policies, and there's a big debit on the system from the two of them. So in here, I've got two motor policies. One is 400 including the fee, and the other is 460 including the fee. So if we go into the cash postings, now what if I'm just going to assume that he's sent in a check for 860. So if I click 860 and just put in the figures, again I click check, and what I can do now is instead of allocating, if I try and just click the allocate button here and allocate there, so I can do it individually. But alternatively, what I could have done there is click automatic. So the alternative is automatic. So they owe 860, they're giving you 860. So instead of actually allocating each particular line, if you just click automatic, the system does it for you automatically. So that's very handy in a scenario where maybe they have multiple policies and multiple debits on file. So say maybe they have 5 policies with 2 grand each. So that would be 10 grand. So they send you a check for 10 grand. Instead of you allocating each line, just put in the 10 grand, click automatic, and it clears them all off. Let's look at a scenario where they, again, they have 2 policies. The total amount is 860, but they've just sent you in 400 euros and they've asked you to allocate 200 off each. So what would you do? So again, click cash or right click and post cash. The scenario is they've sent you in a check for 400 and they've asked you to allocate 200 off each one. So how do you do that? So again, just pick your payment type. So in this particular scenario, I would use the enter amount button. Wouldn't use it too often. It's basically where you want to take more control over your accounts and there's multiple policies. So again, I'm just going to select the first one and I click enter amount. And the system is basically giving me the opportunity to post whatever I want off it. So it's like how much do you want to allocate to that first line? So again, just put in 200, press OK. And then the balance then, I could actually just do that again, enter amount, or I can just click remainder. And it'll clear off the other 400, or sorry, other 200. And that's it. So again, if a customer gives you specific instructions about allocating particular monies off a number of different policies, you can use the enter amount to take control and be specific. So in this next scenario, I'm just going to show you how to use the online card feature when you're posting cash. So if you have auto premium posting turned on, the system will actually give you the opportunity to take an online card from motor and home, and it'll actually receipt the money for you automatically. But if you're working manually and you want to use the online card, this is how you would do it. So again, just using the same scenario here where they owe us 860 for the 2 motor policies. So if I right click and post cash and put in the 860, and this time I'm going to select online card. Again, make sure you're specific about the card type, because that would cause you a problem if it's not a Visa and it's actually a MasterCard. So that could lead to the system stopping you. So make sure it's right. Again, I'm just going to click automatic here to clear them off and press OK. And now the system will actually bring up the card details, so the online card system kicks in. So again, yeah, assuming you're using the online card, just take the money. Okay. Next. And that's it. So it basically just confirms how much you're going to take. Click make payments. And again, it'll connect with the online provider. So Relex, WorldNet or AutoPay. And then hopefully the monies will have gone through. You do get 3 attempts at it. If it hasn't gone through, you can click the back button and go back and just clarify that you have the numbers correct. That's it. Click finish. And that's it. Obviously, if the payment doesn't go through with online card, the monies will not actually be receipted. So the monies will only be receipted, like it has now, if the monies have been accepted through the online card feature. In this next scenario, I'm going to show you how to deal with a scenario where the customer is paying on insurer direct debits. So insurer direct debits. And not only have you collected your fee, but you've actually collected a deposit on behalf of the insurer and you want to actually pay the monies over to them. So how do we handle that? So when you're posting the premium from the system, you would have selected payment type, or you should have. Okay. So again, direct is what we pick when they're paying by insurer direct debits. And the way the Relay account system works is that it assumes that the client is paying the insurer directly for the premium, and therefore you, the broker, should only be collecting your fee and, if applicable, an add-on. So I've selected direct. I'm just going to post this premium. So you can see here it's 500 and for the premium, 50 euros for the fee. But because I've selected direct, the total due is just 50 euros. Okay. So let's assume that Aviva has asked you, the broker, to collect 10% of their, 20% of their premium upfront as well. So in that case, you'd want to be collecting 150 euros in total. Okay, so their premium was 500. They want to collect 20% in addition to your fee. So how do you handle it? So go into your posting cash. Now you can see here, obviously we've got a problem in that the total due just says 50 euros, but I'm giving you a scenario where we are collecting 150. So what do we do? So we put in our 150. So we always put in what we've actually collected from the customer, and it's just a matter of using the correct buttons sequence here to work this out. So 150 is what we're collecting. So €50 fee, €100 deposit. Check. So you select the fees, €50, and just click allocate. So allocate €50 to it, and then it leaves an amount here of €100. So again, there's no OK button. It's grayed out because it wants you to tell the system what are we doing with this. Well, we've only got one choice. We're going to leave it unallocated. So you click unallocated, press OK, and what happens is the system will clear off the fees. So that's been dealt with, and now it's saying total due minus €100. So essentially they're in credit for €100. Of course, they're not in credit, the customer. It's actually the insurer, Aviva, because you need to transfer that €100 to Aviva. So how do you handle that in Relay? So you would be using a journal here to clear this off. So if I click on the drop down at the bottom here, there's a direct debit deposit to insurer. Put in your €100, put in your date and a reference if you want, and then just click OK. It says to you, so you're going to get this message every time you use the journal. You should say yes to this, because what happens is, as part of your month-end process, the first step that you actually have to do is to marry up any debits and credits that have not been allocated to each other during the current month. So if you had said no here, this transaction will actually pop up at the end of the month when I'm running my month-end. So click yes, and the most simple way to do this is just click automatic. So anytime you've used a journal, and the system says to you, do you wish to allocate the transaction, always say yes. When you come into the cash posting screen, just click automatic and it clears it off. That's it. Press OK, and you can see now everything is done. The total due is back to zero. If I click on the accounts tab, I can see then a breakdown of what actually took place. So you can see there's the €50 fee, and then you can see there's the journal direct debit deposit to insurer for €100. So that's basically how you'd handle a scenario where you're collecting not only your fee on a direct debit case, but also deposit on behalf of the insurer. So again, just to recap, when you're actually posting cash up on Relay, you can just right click and select post cash, or you can select the cash button down here. It brings you into the cash posting screen. Your total due or your current debits will be sitting here in total due. And again, you won't be able to post cash unless there is a total due amount. So again, the process is post your premium, then post your cash. This is the section that you fill in. So you always put in the actual amount the customer is paying you here. Okay, it's not like what you want to have paid you. It's basically what they've actually given you. So regardless of whether it's an underpayment or an overpayment or it's the exact amount, that's what goes in here. Make sure you pick your payment type correct. And once you have done that, you can then basically use the relevant buttons here to allocate the money. So again, if they're paying you in full and the amounts match, you can click, well, you can double click on the actual transaction to allocate. You can click allocate or automatic. They'll all do the same thing. Remainder is for partial payments. Unallocated is basically where you want to put them in credit, either the customer or it's because you've collected an insurer direct debit deposit on their behalf of the insurer. Enter amount again would be used more rarely. It's a case where they have multiple policies and they've asked you they've sent in a check for a nominal amount and they want to ask you to kind of break it up in piecemeal and pay off a little bit off all their policies. So it would be used more rarely. Just other buttons you have here. If you click on payment history, it'll give you a record of any transactions that have gone through the online card system. So this is the online payment history. So if you're ever unsure, just click payment history and there you go. If you want to see more details about any of these transactions, just highlight them and click view and it'll give you a breakdown. Just finally in this video, we want to look at just the process of reversing transactions that you might have actually done on the system. So we know from the video on posting premiums, if you want to take down a premium posting that you've done up on our system, just right click and select post in an error. So that'll take it down. So that's the premium posting. So you can take down any premium that you've posted up. So regardless whether new business or endorsement or return or renewal, whatever. So posted in error will take it down. Posted in error will also take down premiums that you've posted even when there's money allocated against it. So you can still take it down if there's money allocated. So you can actually take it down up to the point where it's reconciled with the insurer. Now, one thing you cannot use posted in error for would be for journals and for actually posting monies itself. Okay, so posted in error is only for taking down premiums at present. So how would you take down a journal? So in terms of reversing a journal payment, you can see here that if I go into the accounts tab, in the last example I posted a journal. It was a direct debit deposit to insurer of €100. Say for example I want to just reverse that. I've made a mistake for some reason, I want to cancel it out. So to do that, what we'd have to do is basically just do a reverse journal. Okay, so right clicking on it and clicking posted in error will give you this message. Okay, so its transaction is not yet supported. So essentially what you have to do is click on the journal button and go into journal. Go into select the journal type that you had before, and this time just reverse it. So put a minus in. Okay, so make sure the dates match up. So select the journal type and put in the same amount, but this time a minus figure in front of it, and press OK. And then if you click on the cash button again, and automatically it'll clear them. So direct debit deposit to insurer minus 100 and OK, and that'll basically offset the plus journal against the minus journal, and that's it reversed. So in the next scenario here, we're just going to look at how to reverse a cash payment, an incorrect cash payment. So you can see here there's currently a debit up of $4.25. All right, and we're just going to receipt that money. So I'm going to put in my $4.25, and I'm going to leave it on cash. So the scenario here is that I'm going to deliberately receipt this money that has been paid by cash, but in actual fact they've paid it by bank transfer. So we want to basically deliberately post it as cash and then reverse it and then repost it as a bank transfer. Now, so what I'm going to do is just going to receipt that money, allocate, clears it, and OK. So as far as the system is concerned, we've actually just generated or receipted the money by cash. So if we go into the accounts tab, and then the bottom there you can see the cash has been posted for $4.25. So therefore, if I ran a cash book for the day, I'd now have a $4.25 credit under the cash column. So the scenario is that's incorrect. So we've done the reconciliation at the end of the day, and we realized this customer's actually paid us with a bank transfer, and we want to fix that. So how do you do it? Well, we do have a journal option there for cash to policy. This is basically how you would minus out cash. However, the problem with this is that we only have journal type for cash to policy. We don't have one for card to policy or check to policy or something like that. So it's limited. So I don't normally recommend using it for that reason. Instead, if you go into transactions and click on batch posting. So this is basically how we can take it down. So in this section here, I put in the client code. So you can see it's just here on the bottom right hand corner, ACCJ04. I select the type of payment I want to reverse. So it was cash, so leave it on cash. And then I put in the amount. So what I want to do here is reverse it out. So minus $4.25, minus $4.25. Press OK. And then post transaction. This will post transaction to you without and say yes. And then you can say no to the next transaction there, or the next message. So if I just give this a refresh by clicking next and previous, you can see now that the credit of $4.25 has been reversed, and now we have the debit back. So the cash has been taken out, and that's why the debit is back for $4.25. And now if we receipt the money again, so right click and post cash, and this time I can put in $4.25, and down the bottom here you'll see bank transfer. Allocate, OK, and no. Again, the receipts are stored automatically in the documents tab if you want to get them. That's it. were zeroed. And again, if I run a cash book, you'll see that on the cash book. So if I just go into reports and daily and cash books, this is how you run a cash book. And again, if I just leave it on today and click preview, then you can see here, so this is your cash book. And if I scroll down just this section here, you can see the 425 that I actually minused. So this is all my transactions for today. This is bank transfer, there's 425. There's all my caches that I've done during the demo. And you can see here, yeah, 425 has been minused out. So 245 is what we've actually received in cash. So again, if I hadn't fixed that problem, then I would have been over by 425 on my reconciliation. So that's why you would want to fix it. Check online card, and also down the bottom here you can see any journals that you do on the cash book will be seen as well. Again, so any refunds that you do, you'll see them down the bottom for outgoings. Cash books, just to clarify, you can run a cash book at any time during the system. There's no trial balance as such. Just go into reports and daily and cash book. And again, you can run it for whatever date range you want. Just click preview and it generates. If you want to be more specific, you can select to run it by department and handler type. So you can say I want to see personal lines and just a particular user only, and then run it. In addition to the cash book on a daily basis, we also recommend that you would run an unallocated cash report. So this will basically give you a list of anybody who's currently in credit. So anybody who is due a refund, or again in the example we saw earlier where we collected €100 deposit on behalf of Aviva, you'd actually see those people as well. So it's a good report to run every day along with your cash book to see who's in credit and why, and basically accounts would need to deal with them. So either refund them or forward on monies to the insurers if you've been collecting deposits on their behalf. So that concludes this video on posting cash in Relay.